Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting, brought to you by Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. Please stay tuned, and we'll see you shortly.
I'll get you to where you are. It's the bottom button, the bottom arrow.
Okay. The bottom arrow. Okay. Cool. All right, so generally what I do is I have a ton of pictures, some statistics from 2025 peppered throughout. So I'll run through them pretty quick, and then you can just ask any questions at the end. If you want to stop me in the middle, that's fine too. So in 2025, we did have an opportunity to go to the Grand Rapids game show, or game show, and we had a blast. So if you have not been there, highly recommend it. I learned a lot about the people on my team, actually. It's pretty fun. So for hospitality and engagement, over 2025, we provided walking escorts, umbrella walks, and vehicle jumps 756 times. We provided 7,300 directions. Our social service assistance, which is connecting unhoused individuals to services, we conducted 141 of those, and we documented 441 interactions with residents. I do think that number is a little bit low. I think that sometimes we just don't know who lives downtown, who doesn't. So we provided information over 97,000 times in the district, and we offered general assistance, which is holding doors, giving treats to dogs, taking pictures for people, just any sort of interaction that leaves a lasting impact on people. So we provided that over 61,000 times and almost 6,200 interactions with businesses in the district. So a couple of pictures we highlighted here. We've got our World of Winter Love and Lunch. We got to give out roses to people, which was really fun. So we hit some businesses and some residents. So that was a great time. And then out the bottom right corner, that's one of our ambassadors, Jake. He's really great with interacting with unhoused individuals. So we get calls from businesses for assistance. And Jake is there just having a nice chat and providing some help. So. In these pictures here, I've got Teresa showing some kids at the egg hunt at the community garden how to utilize the dash. Of course, we carry umbrellas, so Kevin there in the middle is carrying an umbrella, and then giving a treat to a dog in a cone of shame in downtown. So cute. And then, of course, DeVos brings a lot of conventions. So down here at the bottom left, we have Kevin giving a tour to some groups that are from out of town. Of course, we provide jumps, which is that bottom middle picture, to vehicles, and we train our new ambassadors. And then, what's the last picture? Oh, yeah, first aid. So Teresa provided some first aid to somebody that had fallen off their bike. For beautification, we cleaned up 3,100 biohazards in the district last year and removed over 4,000 instances of graffiti. We provided maintenance to our infrastructure, which is our trash cans, urns, dog bag stations, over 19,000 times. We also cleared snow from 13,724 crosswalks, bus stops, hydrants, and parking meters. Fun fact, we've almost hit half of that in the first month and a half alone. We had a lot of snow this year, so it's pretty crazy. And then we collected almost 13,000 trash bags. So some services we provide for graffiti removal up at the top left here. The apartment lounge provided us with some paint, and we were able to paint over some of the graffiti on the side of their building. We have some equipment that sucks up leaves down here at the bottom left. We're also taking care of the wayfinding signs in the district, making sure that our visitors have an optimal experience wayfinding. And then we also have focused last year a little bit on the removal of debris and dirt that's built up in the porous pavement of trees as well. So we're also taking care of these benches. This bench right here, the birds had a heyday with it. So we actually have somebody at Monroe Center right now cleaning the benches off as well. We ride our ATLV in the district. And after winter, we have a lot of debris built up in the side. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, all-terrain litter vacuum. Looks like a Dr. Seuss machine. It's that little guy right there. Mostly we use it to clean up curb lines and large amounts of leaves. That's really great in the fall as well. And then the winter, obviously, we have a lot of stuff built up on the curbs from the snow removal, the snow plows, and then a scorned lover threw some stuff out the window, and we're able there to pick up all the pieces of that. So I just love my before and after pictures. We also hit those curb lines, those catch basins. We really focus on those when the snow is melting as well, because all that stuff puddles up. So we try to clear all the catch basins, and we do the curb lines as well. Here is one of my ambassadors cleaning up gum from the sidewalks and some leaf cleanup as well. This is one of my favorite pictures that I pulled. It is the brick. This is how dirty it was before we pressure washed it. I love it. It makes me so happy. Let's see, where am I at on here? So 284 hours we spent on that ATLV last year, 76 hours on our Snow Raider. So last year we focused on training new people on our Snow Raider. It's a really great tool. It clears snow easily in crosswalks and bus stops. So we use it for 76 hours, which is the most we've used it so far. 122 hours of small equipment usage. That's weed whackers, snow blowers, backpack blowers, and the like. We also measure power washing in 2 ways nowadays. So we have block faces, which we had 109 is for cleaning an entire block face. But sometimes we do like spot cleaning or partial blocks. So now we also track it in hours. Our old pressure washing trailer was having constant issues. So halfway through the year last year, we were able to buy a new one. I anticipate that our hours will go up and our block faces will go up this year. Yeah. Some more before and after pictures. We've got a lot of weeds that built up on Ottawa, right by 196, so we cleared those up. And some of my favorite curb line pictures before and afters are a lot of fun to show off. This is our loo. The outdoor restroom at the corner of Division and Weston. We cleaned it over 2,000 times in 2025. I just had a ton of pictures, so I figured I'd highlight that and what it can be like. It's not always like this, but it can be pretty bad. But everybody on my team is trained to maintain this restroom, and everyone is expected to, including myself. So I just wanted to highlight that restroom. 8 times a day, up to 8 times a day.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to make sure it's a place that I feel comfortable going to. It's not just for certain individuals, it's for everybody. Right?
Would you say that's primarily routine or responsive?
I'm sorry?
Is that majority routine that's just
Oh,
part
yes,
or is
it's
it-
routine.
okay. It's not
But we do
necessarily
have our
like-
number, and sometimes people
Okay.
call us whenever
Cool.
there's issues. Yeah. In our horticulture side, we watered almost 11,000 pots and planters in 2025 and removed over 191,000 leaves. We were prepping for spring. That's what these pictures are. So we cut back the dead stuff, we pull weeds, and we just kind of clean it up. We had 7 trash bags from this one block of Finney. We do not dispose of these in the dumpster. We do take it to the yard waste as well, so just so you guys know about that. We have Alan watering with our newest watering gator. I think we got that in 2023. We call it Franklin because it looks like a turtle. It carries 300 gallons of water, so it makes us pretty efficient. So we also, have our tulips that we planted in 2023 as well, and they're popping up at the beginning of spring. I think some of them are popping up now as well on Monroe Center. And then just taking care of like some weeding and it gets kind of crazy. My team is in the weeds. Next slide. In the beginning of the year, we had construction that kept the irrigation from working in certain areas, so we actually had to water with buckets, fill them up with water. So that's what my team is working on there. More of the beautiful tulips and daffodils. And then we had 35 yards of mulch. So this is what my team is doing down here. We use it to cover the planter beds, make it less dry, and keep the flowers looking good. In our special projects slide, Fratelli's gets a lot of messes. So this is a before and after picture for pressure washing. We also maintain our own trash cans, repair them. We install urns over the downtown area. This was just right around the corner. It looks like maybe some rust stains that we pressure washed. And then we also got new urns this past year. So we're going through replacing the old ones. They're a little bit more weatherproof. So in our safety category for our scooter and bike relocations. We had over 1,200 statistics for that, and we conducted over 1,900 welfare checks. So our team is trained to never walk by somebody that's sleeping. You just never know what they're going through. They might be having a medical emergency, so these pictures kind of represent that as well. In 2025, we also successfully administered Narcan to 2 individuals that were likely saved their lives. So one of them we actually see on a regular basis. He is now sober, he has a house, and he thanks Lenora constantly for saving his life. So it's pretty, thank you. Our team is trained and we do carry Narcan, so. We also were able to find 2 children, 2 missing kids, and reunite them with their parents last year, so that's something to be excited about. This is a beautiful before and after of the scooters and those bikes. They get placed in the middle of the sidewalk, and we move them to a place so people can have mobility. That's very important to me, making sure people can navigate the downtown district. And we also worked with an individual that we know regularly, to get him some resources through outreach. We worked with his sister, and Sam, who's pictured here, did a phenomenal job. I was so proud of her, so just wanted to highlight that. For DJI assistance in placemaking, our team was able to walk around with Lauren. We've got a Lenora. Lauren, and just do a streetscape assessment. So what you guys do or what some of the residents do downtown, we were able to do that. So we were able to provide information and a POV from Ambassador's side, as well as see what you guys think is important as well. And then of course we help a lot in World of Winter. So the snow piled up on the steps right before an event at the Calder. We help reset some of the art that happens. And Dennis was a walking QR code to make sure that Detroit got all the statistics they needed for the events. And then, of course, those inflatables that get covered in snow, and we helped clear them off and inflate them. We also helped a lot with Less Conscious, cleaning up and setting up for their farmers market, working at tables, maintaining Lion Square as well, making sure the infrastructure is in place and cleaning it. We take care of those 2 dog parks. And then this picture over here is Jake on the holiday trolley, which we got to participate in, and he was actually singing Christmas carols on the microphone, so I thought that was really fun. We also helped with Trevor filling up holes in the dog park, putting that ping pong table out on Monroe Center, and then just other assistants. He is. He's right there.
I would like some credit for that.
The picture that had you in it was not very flattering, so I chose not to use
I appreciate
that one.
that. Thank you.
Can you share that with me?
Yeah.
And I did have a picture of him on here pulling weeds with me, but yeah, he does help a lot. And above and beyond, we always do what we can to make sure downtown is a safe and welcoming place within our duties. So we make sure that cars can get shoveled out of snow banks if they get stuck. Marshall right here is helping somebody that hurt their ankle, giving her ice while she waited for an ambulance. We also had to help with the Camp Hall Promenade when that snow melt wasn't working for a short period of time, clearing that. And the scooters were actually placed in front of Swift Printing, and the parking spot is right across the street. So me and Lenora piled them up in the truck, drove them over to the other side of the street just to get them out of the way. They did not belong. So, just whatever we can do to make downtown better. We also got to work with Be Nice to get some training on mental health and co-occurring issues. We got our beautiful new truck. I'm so proud of this truck. It's so gorgeous. And then I also assisted with the Public Museum High School. I work with them every single year with the 9th graders. So they had an interview to just find out what we did and how to make our community better. They also walked around with Jonah for a little while to understand the work that we do. And then we do multiple cleanups a year with them on South Division as well. So I'd like to highlight that. And then for our last slide, we actually got to participate in the Santa Parade again for our 2nd year, and we drove our brand new truck. It was a lot of fun. We decorated it. It was a good time. And then Rick, if you know who Rick is, he actually retired last year, right around his 10-year anniversary. So we did have a party recognizing him for that, as well as a goodbye. So just want to highlight that as well. He is still a resident of the district, so you might see him around. We also had a nice Thanksgiving with our whole team, and then Lenore here was awarded Ambassador of the Year for 2025.
I have to say that you guys have some amazing vehicles.
We do.
Those are some
We're
pretty
so
cool
lucky.
pieces of equipment. Awesome. Any questions? Comments? Thank you. I love
thank
the
you so
before and
much.
afters, great reminders of all
I
the
love
work that
before
you
and
guys do. It's a ton.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we are still down one for quorum, so we're going to continue down the agenda and then see where we get here. Let's go on to stakeholder survey results. Melvin.
Hey, that's me. So if you recall, every year we do a survey to all of the Improvement District stakeholders, just really as to try to help us understand existing downtown conditions, evaluate and prioritize our services, as well as providing an opportunity for feedback and scope of an area of services for the district as well as the Improvement District as well. So this year we had 110 respondents, which was the most we've ever had to the survey, thanks in large part to the ambassador team who help us by going door to door. We haven't changed the survey pretty significantly in the last few years, so that we're trying to collect similar data across all years. But here's sort of a breakdown of folks who took the survey. So a lot of property owners, a lot of business owners, a lot of downtown employees, and a fair amount of residents. And then most folks said that they were downtown about every day, which is great. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. I think you got all of the data as part of the packet that went out, but I'm happy to take any questions at the end of this, but we'll go through this quickly. So again, looking at how our services are being perceived by the folks, and ultimately we want to pay attention to sort of this blue and this orange, which is either significantly better, slightly better, or no change if you think downtown's already clean. But predominantly most folks think that things like general appearance, cleanliness, safety, both reality and perception, as well as visitor activity and overall health of downtown and homelessness are generally improving, as well as aggressive panhandling too. And then services being rated, the services, by the DID being rated. Again, we're looking at sort of this blue and this orange either being very good or good. And most of our categories fell in those, most of our scope of work fell in those two ratings of either being very good or good, with most of them being about around the 60 to 70% mark of folks taking the survey saying that's, we're doing a good job. The one that was slightly lower than last year is resident engagement. But sort of organizationally, we've changed a little bit. We had someone on staff whose whole job was engaging with residents. She has departed, and our organization is still kind of figuring out what is next for that role. And so no surprise that that has changed a little bit, and we're seeing that reflected in these survey results. Overall, how would folks grade the Improvement District? Almost 85% would give us either an A or a B, which is pretty good. So it seems like we're providing services that people value and are happy with what they're getting. Really not a whole lot of change in how people would prioritize the services. Really, ambassador services beat out flower planting this year, and residential engagement beat out event promotion. Other than that, everything else stayed exactly the same as the 2024 survey results for 2025. So continuing to see things like sidewalk cleaning, snow removal, snow melt operations being sort of our top three priorities from stakeholders. One question we always ask too is about expansion of the Improvement District. And so this year, the Bridge and Stocking area actually beat out all the other areas for expansion. Predominantly Monroe North had been the number one choice amongst our survey takers, that is where the DID should expand next. Market and Wealthy came in a close second. That's, of course, where the new amphitheater is going in, and then Monroe North slid pretty far down, 16%, down to 28%, and then 27% said, don't do anything at all. So that's really fast overview of the survey results. I'm happy to take any question. Data that you were given in your packet. It's much more comprehensive than the overview I just gave, but I'd be happy to, email me with questions or stop me when you see me around downtown with questions. I'd be happy to answer them too.
Any questions or comments? All right, let's move on. You're up again, Melvin, for reauthorization update.
Yeah, so kind of a two-part item here. So want to just provide an update on some of our reauthorization efforts, as well as start to look at a draft budget review. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about the work that we embarked on for reauthorization. So as we started this work last year, identified, as reflected in the survey, sort of 3 areas for expansion: the west side, south market for the amphitheaters going in, and Monroe North. So we've had good conversations with the west side, especially the CIA. Right now, they, being the CIA, have formed a committee to explore starting their own business improvement district. And so we really felt this was not the time for us to talk to them about expansion, because they're still trying to figure out what they're doing over here or over there. So we're backing off of looking at the west side. We're going to wait to see what their committee comes up with. We have offered to be a resource to them, both as a technical expert of how to run and found and do all the improvement district things, but as well as to just bounce ideas off or be at the table should they want us there. I don't know how those efforts are going. When I talked to them last, they were still forming the committee. I'm not sure if that's happened yet or not. That was near the end of the year, kind of smack in the middle of the holidays, so I assume they're probably still getting up and running. The amphitheater district, looking at expanding over there, I think we will, as we formulate the improvement district operations plan, which we will look at next month, and ideally this body will recommend for commission, we will probably recommend to expand to the amphitheater parcels, and I'll get into a little bit of the nuance of that as I talk about the budget here next. So we're still kind of figuring out what that will look like for the improvement district and sort of how that will inform our operations plan. And then Monroe North, we're still in discussion with them. I've had some stakeholder meetings with residents, with businesses. I met with the Business Association leadership. I am presenting at the Business Association meeting next month. I get to be their very exciting happy hour entertainment. So come for that, I guess. And so the Business Association, they'll be taking a formal vote amongst their members about whether or not they would like to expand. They're looking for, I forget what the threshold is, but so we're still talking through that with them. And so in your packets, we included 2 budgets, which are up here on the screen. So I'm going to start at the top of the budget and kind of work my way down. And then I'm going to pivot over to the Monroe North budget because it's predominantly the same. There's just a couple of very specific changes to that. And I've provided the current budget all the way to the left, just so you can kind of see where things are right now and compare how things we're looking. I will say these numbers are not anywhere near final, and I'll get into why that is shortly. So looking at the top with the district-wide assessment, right now this budget is built on a 3% increase. So in our current DID operations plan, we tie increases to the state inflation rate, which was 2.7 for this year. So that allows us to go up to 3%. And so that's sort of what I would probably recommend based on what I think is coming down the pipe. No change in the resident assessment, though you will see the resident assessment numbers have gone down. We're not changing the assessment. It's just properties shift every year, how they're classified, who owns them. So that number will naturally fluctuate as residential parcels become non-residentially classified or become residentially classified, but not recommending any change to the residential assessment, so still the $120 flat fee for the year. Estimated earnings both for the district-wide assessment and the snow melt, I don't make those up. Tricia gives those to me as part of the, and I'm sure she doesn't make them up either. So. The snowmelt assessment, you'll notice, is highlighted. So we have engaged Geotech, which is our snowmelt consultant, to provide us with a 5-year operations and maintenance plan for the snowmelt. I am hopeful to get that by the end of this month. I talked to them, it's Wednesday, I talked to them Tuesday. They think they can deliver that to me by the end of February, which will allow us to inform budgeting for March. And so we may be looking at an increase there depending on what their recommendations for maintenance and operations are. And then on the anticipated uncollected assessment, you'll notice that's gone up. That will naturally go up as the district-wide assessment goes up, but I've also nominally increased the percentage that we're withholding to try to better account for unpaid and non-lienable assessments. So there are lots of entities that get assessed that are not required to pay their assessment, that does not become a lien on their property. And so it's sort of a art/science to try to figure out what that number is every year. So I went back and looked at the last few years and came up with a number that gets us a little bit closer to what I think that is. And my goal is to always be a little bit more conservative on that number and overestimate what our uncollected revenue might be so that we might accidentally get some additional cash we weren't thinking about. The next items, I'm going to move down to the expenditures. You'll notice that the ambassador program is highlighted. So there's a couple of changes happening here. So if you look down at the special project line item, it looks like it goes down a significant amount. That special project line item exists because we pulled the residents into the assessment at the beginning of the existing plan that we are under. And that line item was reserved for them to figure out what they wanted to do with that money. They voted to basically expand the ambassador program. So that line item has long been just paying for more ambassador services. So I took that money and just plugged it into the ambassador program, since that's what we're spending it on anyway. Additionally, I've engaged Block by Block. We are on a year-to-year contract with them. We have a 1 year with some additional riders. They changed the way that they structure their contracts now, and so previously they used to give raises and they would build them into their contract. Either they would eat the cost or they would sort of scope those out across the life of the contract. They don't do that anymore. And so if we want our ambassadors to get a raise, we have to negotiate the contract amount every year, which is why we don't sign a multi-year contract with them. So I am waiting for those numbers to come back so that I can see what they will be and how they will impact the rest of the numbers, which is why I, again, will say like these numbers are not final, because that's a big thing I'm waiting for. Additionally, our flowers and planting number you'll see has gone up. I'm still waiting for a couple of clarifying things on that. That number I will anticipate to change. Skipping down to the marketing and communication. So you'll notice we've cut personnel, wages, and benefits. We didn't fire anybody. Turns out we weren't using that line item for personnel. So in working with our admin team, we've just buried all of that money into supplies instead. And so we'll be able to use those dollars to help market and promote downtown and augment some of the things that the DDA is already doing. And then same thing under administration. You notice we've cut a lot of line items. We're not getting rid of those things. We just buried them all into DDRI overhead. Our admin team asked for a little more flexibility on how the improvement district contributes to DDRI's overhead, and didn't want to necessarily be beholden to wages and benefits or professional services or supplies. Because sometimes we won't use as much professional services as, say, the DDA or the TIFA or whatever the case may be. So really just structuring all of that into one larger overhead item. And there's a slight increase on that if you add up these numbers. It's a little bit smaller than this, but not by much. And then the city A87 costs, those are the costs that we pay the city for Tricia services and the assessor services who sends out our bills and things like that. And those numbers come from the city. Before I take any questions, I'm going to move over to the Monroe North budget side. So pretty much everything I've said is the same. There's just a couple of changes. So starting on the revenue side, I've just parsed out what the revenue generated by the district that I've proposed to the Monroe North folks would be, and it's about $185,000 is what the Monroe North district would generate. And so you'll notice the ambassador number is larger. I've sort of estimated about $150,000, give or take, for ambassador services to cover that district in a way that I think makes sense. I believe it's 2 full-time ambassadors and then possibly a part-time ambassador filling in some gaps. And then looking at the special project line item being changed over to a projects line item specifically for Monroe North. As you may or may not be aware, they are currently in rebranding, and marketing is something that is very much on their mind, and so could potentially use those dollars to support their marketing and or rebranding efforts. Again, supplies just kind of going up as we think about the DID being bigger and having more marketing and communications needs, and then also looking at the overhead, our overhead going up just sort of to increase, or as the needs of our admin team. Oh boy, lost that train of thought, sorry. As the focus and the work that our admin team does will expand because the improvement district is bigger, just adding some more overhead adding some more resources to the overhead line item to account for that. You'll notice on the bottom there's an errant zero under all of these budgets. The DID is a flat budget, so we have to base budgets off of the services that we expect, so everything that comes in must get spent. We can't budget for a surplus or for a negative amount. So that's kind of the way that this has to shake out. Between now and March 18th, when we meet and we go over the full plan, I will have these numbers finalized, and we will also be providing a projection of budgets for the length of the plan. And so what I'm hoping to get here today is not an approval on this budget, because this is far from being final. Really, the things that we kind of need to understand are, is my thinking generally in line with what this body sees as services and work to the downtown, and reaffirming that what our reauthorization period would be. I think we landed on 3 years, which is what our current operating plan is, and just wanted to sort of reaffirm that that's what this body thinks they want as well. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
Any budget?
Comment on the Monroe North column. So under irrigation and utilities and flowers and plantings, those are the same between the two. So would all floral or, irrigation, plantings, all those sorts of things, would those be covered by the special project line item in Monroe North, or is it something that we wouldn't?
That's a good question. So I wouldn't anticipate like additional irrigation, because as far as I know, there's not any public right-of-way irrigation up there. That would fall under the improvement district, so I wouldn't expect that to go up. And then, for flowers and planting, I would expect that to fall under the special project until we work it into the budget. Sort of similar how we did with the resident special project. It had its own line item. Until now, I'm just sort of pushing it into the line item that actually belongs into.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I want to give them, just like we did with residents, I would want to give the Monroe North stakeholders an opportunity to say, like, these are the additional services that we want, and this is how we would like to use that money. So just kind of keeping it earmarked, for lack of a better term, for sort of that general purpose, and allowing them to inform how we use those dollars.
Thanks.
And maybe that changes every year, and maybe it doesn't.
Could you remind everyone, when we talk about Monroe North, we're talking freeway over, right?
Yeah, so the boundary that I sketched out, and I apologize, I probably should have put it in here. We are looking at the freeway, so 196 overpass, which is where the current improvement district ends, all the way up to the Coldbrook roundabout. So nothing beyond the Coldbrook roundabout that's up there. So kind of the point just before Leonard. That was when we looked at the property makeup, that was the highest concentration of businesses and residents in the Monroe North neighborhood. That made the most sense to draw improvement district boundaries around.
From Monroe to Division 2 then? Does it go that far?
It doesn't go that far east. I think it ends at Ottawa Avenue, so it gets pretty industrial and lots of parking lots sort of on that eastern side, so we cut most of those out. They don't benefit from improvement districts the way that traditional like brick and mortar retail businesses would. So
I like the addition of clean and safe to the description. I think that's something we've heard a lot about in the last year and a half from downtown stakeholders, is they want to see a greater emphasis on just overall cleanliness and that feeling. I think the same thing is whatever Monroe North wants to do is great. I love working with them, but if they do decide to opt in, I think making sure that you all communicate it will not impact current operations, or we will not see a reduction in quality, because I think there's going to be some skepticism about we expand, and just whether or not it's reality, there's definitely going to be something to communicate there.
And I think that's a good point. And like making sure, when I was looking at the district, that was the one thing I wanted to understand was like what revenue would Monroe North generate, and how could we translate that into services without tapping into the existing services that our improvement district provides. Because if Monroe North wants 4 ambassadors and they can only financially support 2, that's a conversation of, well, you can have 2, or we can assess you differently and raise revenue in a different way to get you 4 ambassadors. But the solution is not you can pay for 2 ambassadors and we'll figure out how to take 2 ambassadors away from Rebecca's current team to clean Monroe North or whatever the case would be, because we don't want to dilute existing services. 100% agree with that. It would be, we want this to be a true expansion. The district would get bigger, and as a result, the services that we would provide would be additive to what we're already doing.
So then, as a reminder, we will know after the next meeting when you do your happy hour dance that's when they vote on if they want. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then we'll follow whatever budget route is.
Yeah. So when this body convenes in March, we will have the draft plan as well as what I'm thinking is a 3-year budget, which will follow either the central budget or the Monroe North budget to the right. I'm also reminded that I was going to mention something about the amphitheater. So the amphitheater, like I said, I think we would recommend to expand to that area. The amphitheater is not reflected in this budget, which would be like our first year budget. Again, these numbers not final. Because the way that the assessments work are, it's based on the property characteristics on the 31st of December. So given that the amphitheater was under construction that time, the assessor would not assess that property. So we would build their assessment into year 2 of a 3-year plan, which we would account for by adding it to the budget. So we wouldn't just do a raise of percentage because we're capped at 4%. So we would just add the money to the budget. And then if we decided to raise the assessment based on inflation, we would add that on top of the district-wide assessment. That was a really complicated way to say that. Hopefully you followed it. Because we have some new members here. If we add property to the district and don't raise the assessment to match, it actually dilutes the property assessment, and so people will actually see their property or their assessments go down, and that actually creates less revenue for us, which is what we don't want to do. So we always calculate what a new building or new property would add to the district, and we increase the assessment by that, and then we make inflationary decisions based on the new number.
One other footnote on that is the CAA, who will ultimately own the amphitheater property, is a governmental unit, so they're not required to pay it. But we've had partnerships with them on DeVos Place, Van Andel Arena, where they have contributed. So that's an ongoing conversation we'll have.
They would they would most likely opt in if that's
we're
an option.
checking in with Rich McKeegan of Legends now.
I would think that they'd want ambassador support.
Potentially. Yeah.
If not, we're across the street, so we'll send ambassadors to across the street and they can wave at the amphitheater.
Yes, yeah. Any comments on timeline of the budget or the assessment as the 3-year? I think that's what we discussed last time, so I'm comfortable moving forward with that.
So I'm sorry, yeah, you may have mentioned this earlier, Melvin, but what is, in terms of timeline for Monroe North approval, what do you see?
So I'll have more clarity around that after their meeting in March.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to, I expect the next few weeks to get the final numbers for the ambassador program as well as the flower planting and the snow melt. And then I will just continue to build both of these budgets side by side until I know what Monroe North is ultimately deciding. Mm-hmm. And then once that's been decided, I'll finish the plan with the recommendations of either expanding into Monroe North or not. And then, we'll write in the expansion to the amphitheater, and then we'll follow whichever budget track makes the most sense for that. And if Monroe North decides no, but in a year comes back and says, well, we actually changed our mind, we can always reopen the district for reauthorization and add them at a later date. So, okay. Or we can wait for the 3-year cycle and try to add them in there too. So.
But we'll know what we're recommending by the March 18th.
Yeah. When we
meet again and the budget's presented, that'll be incorporated into it.
That'll be the final recommendation to this body, who will recommend it to the city commission. So we will have it all buttoned up by then.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Tim's report, President and CEO.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Monica. I just got a couple of quick slides so you guys are following along with some of the work we're doing. The downtown plan is getting updated, so the GR4 process. Some of you have been around long enough to know what that is, but master plan is getting updated. We've hired a team that'll be in town starting next week for the first time. That'll be a lot of just sort of getting on the ground, kind of understanding what's here today, scheduling out steering committee meetings, community gatherings, all that sorts of stuff for the spring and summer. So more to come. Just want to keep you posted as that process moves along. Paul is sitting on that steering committee as a representative for the DID. We'll obviously keep the board informed as the process goes along. If anyone else has interest in either focus groups or even potentially sitting on the steering committee, please let Melvin, Monica, or I know, because there'll be a lot of opportunity to plug you into that process. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully you've seen or tracking along with the Whitewater progress. So City Commission should be having a contract before them either next week or early in March. So that'll allow them to start work on the lower reach of the Whitewater project. That'll be hopefully starting July 1, depending on water levels. But needless to say, very excited to see that work finally taking shape after a number of years trying to get over the finish line. Amphitheater opens in 86 days at last check. No one's counting. The snow is almost all melted. On this shot, you can see the riverfront piece starting to take shape as well. So a lot of work happening down there. Wanted to highlight there's a committee that's been put together that's thinking about that opening weekend in the community celebration that'll be happening down there. So more to come on some of the public events that'll be happening in advance of the Lionel Richie show. And then DGRI and some other community partners are thinking about that visitor experience piece. So as people are coming down here, what's it like to travel to the amphitheater and from it on the way out. So a lot of people thinking about what that environment is going to be like once that amphitheater opens up. So, but yeah, buy tickets, 86 days.
It's amazing.
On the other side of the river, the soccer stadium continues to take shape. I'm sure you've seen it. This is even a little dated, but that one's flying up. That'll be done in time for the season in 2027, so a little over a year away. But fun to see that taking shape. And then there is work, maybe a little more behind the scenes, but happening on the tower that is just going to be to the north of the soccer stadium. So this was part of the transformational brownfield that was approved, looking at adding a couple hundred residential units over in this area. So more to come on that, but we are still thinking about what development over in that area will look like. This is a little out of the improvement district, maybe even a little out of the North Monroe expansion, but the city received a grant that'll help us implement some of the Hill River Network vision that I think you've all heard about over the past couple of years. This is thinking about how we can better connect Belknap, Medical Mile down into North Monroe, or soon to be River North as they work through that. The grant piece will help to pay for the realignment of the roadway, and that'll be the phase one. So thinking about how we can consolidate Division and Ionia into maybe one stretch of road with some other mobility options to the side of it. And then the other piece of the grant will help pay for improvements to the stairs, so the Fairbanks stairs that get washed out here and there. So good to have that moving along. Schedules will be announced soon. The city team's getting convened as we speak. And then last but not least, despite it being 60 degrees out, World of Winter is still going on. We got a couple more weekends. Stuff this weekend, and then I'll wrap up March 1 with Noodle Fest over on Calder Plaza. So that's a little bit of what we have going on, but if anyone has questions or thoughts on anything else, please let me know.
Questions? Awesome, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Before we move on to public comment, I just want to, since we didn't get to approve meeting minutes, that one's fine, but accept any of the financials. Are there any, did anybody, can we take questions on them? Do we want to review anything? What's our?
We could take questions. Tricia's here. We can't vote on anything, so we'll have to bring it back for a formal motion. But if you had a chance to look at
So we have
the
year-end
financials,
financial statements, which will need to get accepted then at our, we can do that at our March. So, so if anybody has any questions about year-end or January financial statements, you can either ask them now or we can reach out and we can plan to bring them back in March for that. All right, well, hearing none then, I will open up for public comment. And I believe we have a public comment. Scott, thank you.
And for you guys, for the minutes. Do you want a time?
Yes, well, yeah.
Absolutely.
For the live stream. So this is being recorded? Yes. Good. My name is Scott Atchison, and I'm here to try to convince you that there's something missing downtown, and that is information. I heard Melvin say something, I heard Rebecca from them, but you guys, I'm telling you, you need to build an information center right behind the statue of Rhodes Park Circle. I'm just here today to talk about location, not what the people that work inside the information center should be doing. I'm just talking about location. The Go site they put in the art museum was a complete failure for two reasons. Two reasons. It was hidden inside another building. And why would anybody want to hide an information center inside another building? That just blows me away. Grand Rapids is famous for hiding an information center inside another building. So I'm saying, right behind the Statue of Rosa Parks Circle, there's a little hill. Go there and walk there and see there's a little dividing line where Rosa Parks Circle start, then there's a hill, then there's the Statue of Rosa Parks Circle. That's where the information center should be. And I'm saying it should be a 2-story structure. Now think about it. The Fifth Third Riverbank run is coming up. And if it was there, which I've been telling you for years, the second floor could be used as a press box for Channel 8, Wood 13, M Live. All the media would have their own press box. I'm saying you guys are being let down. I went and talked to the parking commission, Mobile GR, and a couple of the commissioners said, this is a great idea. Perfect location. And I just got an email from a member of the Grand Rapids City Commission that said, if I haven't told you directly, I agree with you that we need a downtown info center. You know, I'm going to thank that commissioner when I see that commissioner again. I'm here to save you a couple $100,000. You know, you don't need to hire any more consultants. The wayfinding sign was okay, but that was a couple $1 million, and I say flush the toilet, you know, because there's no information on those things, just a map. And now everybody hear me out. Everybody has a map on their phone, so why would we go spend a couple $1 million on maps? It's crazy. You know, but now, I'll be done here quick. This is location. These are the only things I'm talking about today. The 3 horizontal things are your homework. You guys need to read these. I always update these. I change the call outs in the text boxes. I'm just telling you, you guys need to do this. And I'm going around to all the, you know, not only do we have the city in the county, we got the DDA, the DID, the DGRI, CAA, CVB, ASM, which used to be SMG, and others. What we don't have is an information center. Now, I'm going to end it with this. Do you guys, with the new amphitheater and soccer stadium, Tim talked about that for a couple minutes. Do you guys want to be a city with or without an information center? That's all I'm going to say today, and I'll be back next time to talk about what they should be doing. And Tim, you and Doug need to have a meeting with me and the city manager.
Okay, thank you for the information. Any additional comments? Okay. Now we have board member discussion. Anybody have anything to add? All right. Well, sorry, Brandon, on your first day you couldn't vote for a thing. But in March, we're going to make this happen.
Tell your friends.
Yeah,
Show
tell your
up.
friends. Show up. Okay, we'll go ahead.
It wasn't you.
And adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Monica.
Yeah, thank you.